It's about that time again, boys and girls. It's Dexter time. No, I'm not gonna lie, I love making these Dexter videos because as you guys all know, I'm the #1 Dexter fanboy and the #1 Dexter glazer. Now this is part 4 to ranking these serial killers by their chances of surviving Dexter Morgan. Now wow, a part 4, to be honest, I think this would have ended at part 2, but I guess we're still here. But without further ado, before we get into this video, let me explain the tiers for you guys so you understand what I am ranking. Coming in first, we have They'd Kill Dexter, which is pretty self-explanatory. That's the top tier. Season-long kill, which basically means they're a main antagonist, like, I don't know, the Ice Truck Killer or the Trinity Killer. They're kind of in that demographic. Couple episode kill, which means it would be kind of hard for Dexter. Well, not really hard, but it's like a road bump in the road to his success. And one episode kill is, yeah, one and done. It's the easiest thing for Dexter. He's done this before, just a normal victim. And coming in first, we have our boy Jason Voorhees. Now, I'm going to be basing this off of Friday the 13th part 4, just because Jason is technically a human. He's essentially kind of half human and half supernatural at this point because, come on, the things bro does in this movie are just insane. Jason is not just a regular human. He's become something far more terrifying. Now, Dexter has dealt with his fair share of gigantic buff men. Pause. I'm talking about fighting. But for example, take little Chino. Yeah, he doesn't look so little, right? He's 6'8", coming in at 278 pounds of pure muscle, no fat, six-pack and everything. Now, Jason Voorhees in part 4 is 6'4". Now, obviously, Jason would beat the crap out of little Chino in a straight up fight, but this just proves that Dexter could potentially handle Mr. Voorhees, though not in hand-to-hand combat whatsoever. Dexter would just get literally obliterated. He would be cooked. Now Dexter would have to approach this the same way he did with little Chino. Maybe trap him first and then hit him with the M99. And he's not your typical easy to catch killer. If Dexter is going to somehow take down Jason, he'd need to dump maybe his entire collection of M99 tranquilizers into him, or honestly maybe just a few shots to the neck. But the thing is, that would knock him out temporarily. Now let's imagine Dexter actually manages to get Jason on his table, which is, to be honest, a huge if, but let's just say he does. He's going to wake up before Dexter can even wake him up by himself, and then just strangle him and then just rip out of that plastic like nothing's happened, because you cannot restrain Jason in some plastic wrap. Maybe you can to a normal human, but Jason really isn't a normal human. So boom, we're starting off this video strong. Jason Voorhees, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Dexter is cooked even if Jason is still human. And next we have the Heart Eyes Killer from the movie Heart Eyes. Now, I actually saw this in theaters when it came out, and honestly, I really liked it. So basically, the Heart Eyes Killer is two people, Detective Shaw and her IT specialist husband, David. Now, there's also a copycat killer in the movie, but it's not the real Heart Eyes Killer. So if Dexter was put into the Heart Eyes universe, he'd essentially have to deal with 3 killers posing as the Heart Eyes Killer. To be honest, that's light work for Dexter. In my previous Dexter versus videos, I said that Dexter would beat all the ghost faces, though maybe not all at the same time. Maybe Billy and Stu at the same time. I feel like he could take them on in a 2v1 because, to be honest, they don't really have any combat skill and they're very clumsy as well. So if I genuinely believe that Dexter can take down multiple ghost faces, or probably take down every single one, then Heart Eyes is a walk in the park for Dexter. Since there are 3 killers involved here, like 2 legit and 1 copycat, it's not a one and done situation. So Dexter would need to figure out, obviously, who the real killers are, which means research, stalking, digging through clues, you know, the normal Dexter spiel. Now, David and Shaw may have some law enforcement access and technical skill, but let's be honest, they're very sloppy compared to Dexter's surgical precision and methodical nature. Like, it would be a hunt for Dexter, no doubt, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, the Heart Eyes Killers deserves a couple episode kill, because keep in mind, it is 3 Heart Eyes Killers, so it would definitely take Dexter a little bit time, but if it was 1 killer for Heart Eyes, it would be 1 episode kill, easy peasy. And next we have John Carver from Thanksgiving. So John Carver is not just some mindless slasher. He plans his kills with precision and puts on a complete show. His murders are pretty gruesome and symbolic, always tied into some twisted version of the Thanksgiving holiday. He's also patient and isn't afraid to play the long game to get what he wants. Now, Carver's greatest strength is, his fear. He controls towns with it and he controls people with it. Now, that works well on ordinary people or even, the local law enforcement, but Dexter is far from just an ordinary normal person. He is used to going up against killers with pizzazz. Like once Dexter starts profiling him, studying the kill patterns and his ritualistic behavior, I feel like he would get into Carver's head fast. Now, the moment he figures out the motive or identity behind the mask, it's just completely GG, game over. I would just say a couple episode kill at best, and I would put him below. Actually, since John Carver is more methodical and just has better kills and just knows what he's doing overall, I would put him over Hard Eyes. And next we have Norman Bates from Psycho, the movie in 1960. So Norman Bates is a very different kind of threat compared to Dexter's usual victims. Now, Norman is a deeply disturbed individual who suffers from dissociative identity disorder, with his quote-unquote mother persona driving him to commit the murders. But despite his dangerous tendencies that he may have, Norman Bates really isn't physically imposing, and his attacks are often impulsive rather than calculated. Now, I'll give Norman this: he's completely unpredictable and often loses control when his mother persona takes over. So in a confrontation with Dexter and Norman Bates, Dexter would definitely have the upper hand. Dexter could easily disarm Norman if the fight ever came down to a physical altercation, and in all honesty, Dexter outsmarts Norman in just every way possible. I'm not gonna lie, Norman Bates is definitely a 1 episode kill. And next we have Albert Wesker. So for this one, we're going to be using Albert Wesker before the virus, when he was still fully human. But he's still a serious problem when he's human, because we don't want to just, put Albert Wesker with his superhuman abilities against Dexter Morgan. That wouldn't really make any sense, because Dexter is human and you kind of want to make it fair. So even without Wesker's superhuman upgrades, Wesker is a top tier operative, and he is a high ranking umbrella scientist, and he knows how to manipulate people. I kind of think of him as a blend of Jason Bourne's training and Lex Luthor's mindset. I don't know why. If Dexter could infiltrate Wesker's world, maybe get, access to Umbrella's internal documents, or find a survivor of his experiments, the hunt would officially begin. However, Wesker is no fool. He's used to covering his tracks and eliminating threats before they even become a problem. So if he ever even got the slightest whiff that Dexter was onto him, it would just be completely GG right then and there. And I'm not gonna lie, with this one, I do put Wesker and they'd kill Dexter, but do I put him over Jason Voorhees? His human form, that is. Honestly, I'll put him over Jason Voorhees. This is a human form, by the way. I'm not talking about their supernatural abilities. That's a whole nother topic for another video. And next, we have Judge Holden. Now, Judge Holden is, without a doubt, one of the most disturbing figures in all of fiction that I've ever read. Like, he's not just a killer, he is the embodiment of chaos and evil. Like, I would even put him over the Joker in the chaotic realm. But then again, if you ever read the comic Joker, it's kind of it's also pretty gruesome, but they're kind of equal, I guess you could say that, but not really. I don't know, that's a topic for another video as well. But the man speaks multiple languages, he plays music, paints, and debates philosophy. But while he possesses all these sophisticated traits, he commits the most atrocities of crimes. Like, I'm talking about crazy diabolical stuff. He doesn't kill out of anger or desperation. He kills because he sees it as a fundamental part of existence. In his mind, war and violence are the true laws of the universe, and he exists above morality. Think about it. Do I really have to keep debating this? I mean, come on. 100% without a doubt, Judge Holden is killing Dexter before Dexter can even blink an eye. Dexter is getting his it's literally handed to him. Like, the judge might actually stick his hand up there, grab some, and then hold it to Dexter. Like the dude's pretty crazy, man. Honestly, I wouldn't throw that out the window. I feel like he probably would. And next we have Mason from Hannibal. Now, Mason Verger is a sadist and a manipulator, and a man with unlimited resources who gets his hands dirty through others, whether it's feeding someone to pigs or psychologically torturing people for fun. So Mason enjoys cruelty like it's a hobby. But here's the key difference. Mason doesn't hide what he is, just kind of how he does it. And that's dangerous. Like, as I already said for other killers on this list, Dexter's code requires proof. Like, I'm talking about hardcore evidence, concrete evidence that someone is a killer so he can go after them. And Mason's wealth and legal protection make that really difficult. He has a fortress of lawyers, guards, and followers. But with that being said, Dexter also has gone after powerful targets before, like people with political reach, law enforcement ties, and public personas. And also, Mason underestimates people. Like, he thinks money can buy him out of any threat, but as we all know, Dexter is never after money. He's after justice. Well, I would argue that he's after justice and also for his dark passenger because he needs to kill, so I would say it's both, not just justice. Now, for this one, I feel like Dexter would 100% kill him. I feel like he would find a way, but I feel like it would be a season-long kill. Next, we have our beautiful blonde-haired prince, Johan Liebert. Now, Dexter's problem would be going up against someone like Johan Liebert is again his code. But then again, while there are moments where Dexter kills without following his code, such as in self-defense or in cold blood, like when he killed that one guy in the bathroom after Rita's death, but essentially he still tries to follow his code as closely as possible. But the problem with Johan, however, is that he barely kills people directly. He's a master manipulator, often convincing people to kill others or even kill themselves. Now, this is something Dexter has literally never dealt with before. Dexter's code is designed for killers who leave tangible evidence. Someone who picks up, I don't know, a knife or a gun or any weapon or anything that can leave behind clues. Johan, on the other hand, works in the shadows. He doesn't leave physical evidence or any clear pattern that Dexter can follow unless Johan wanted him to. His method of manipulation makes it nearly impossible for Dexter to gather the necessary proof to take action. But then again, let's just say Dexter does get the proof that he needs. There is no way he's killing Johan. Like, Johan would probably just manipulate Dexter into committing suicide by bringing up his past. Dexter really doesn't have that good mental fortitude, to be honest. He's not really that mentally strong. He is, but then again, he's not. Because as we've seen in Dexter, remember when he went into that room full of blood? He broke down completely. If Johan uses that against him, it's GG, easy peasy. Johan is just getting in his mind and sending him off the nearest rooftop. But I would put him below Judge Holden. And next, we have our boy, Walter White. Now, I know I used Walter in a short before, but I wanted to redo my analysis on this battle. He may not be the strongest in the room, but he's probably almost always the smartest guy in the room. Like, every move he makes is backed by logic and science. Now, Dexter might see Walter as a moral gray area at first. After all, Walt didn't start out killing for just the sport. He was trying to provide for his family, but over time, that justification dissolved. Walt became someone who orchestrated multiple murders. That definitely puts him on Dexter's table. But the challenge is obviously Dexter getting him there. As we all know, Walter has sky-high paranoia. He doesn't trust easily, and he's always watching his back, especially later in the Breaking Bad series. Dexter would have to play it slow, maybe approach Walter under a false identity, gain his trust like he did with Arthur Mitchell, but Walter is sharp, and I feel like he would put pieces together. Like, why is this random guy coming up to me and asking all these questions and trying to be my friend? That's kind of weird. And if he suspects anything, which I feel like he would, he's got resources and the nerve to fight back. Whether that means, setting traps for Dexter to fall into, I feel like it would be a really good cat and mouse game, and honestly, I would pay money to see this series. Walter White, I feel like I'll put him at season-long kill, but I'll put him under Mason, or you could put Walter White maybe in the top of couple episode kill. But since it's Walter White's, we'll put him in season-long kill, but at the end. Yeah, that makes sense. And next, we have the Zodiac Killer. Now, the Zodiac Killer has never been found, so right off the bat, this would pose as a challenge for Dexter. The cryptic letters that he leaves behind and the decades of mystery. So the Zodiac Killer, no doubt, is very intelligent and he's methodical, but Dexter has proven time and time again that he can find serial killers who've slipped through the cracks for years. Take the Trinity Killer, for example. He was active for decades, leaving it behind a pattern that even Special Agent Frank Lundy couldn't crack completely. And yet, Dexter not only found him, he got close to him. Trinity was hiding in plain sight. He was living a double life, and Dexter literally embedded himself right into that world without raising suspicion. Now, granted, Dexter did go off of Lundy's already well-researched analysis to get, the head start, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he did what no one else could do. He took down a legend that was in the shadows. So if Dexter can track down and eliminate someone like the Trinity Killer, who had a loving family and a clean public image and a flawless routine, then I fully believe that he could track down the Zodiac Killer too. Obviously, it wouldn't be quick though. Like, this wouldn't be a one episode takedown. This is the kind of hunt that takes a full season, in my opinion. It would involve decoding old patterns and maybe even traveling across the country. But then again, Dexter has no problem traveling across the country, as we've seen what he did for Lila West. Now, the Zodiac Killer, I would put him in season-long kill. 100%. But I would put him, honestly, should I put him at the top? Honestly, I'm gonna put the Zodiac Killer at the top of Season Long Kill just because he's a ghost, just like the Trinity Killer. And the hardest thing is Dexter is going to have to find out who this guy is. And last but not least, we have John Wayne Gacy. And yeah, 100% he goes in 1 episode kill. He's basically a typical victim for Dexter. As we've already seen in Dexter, he kills a clown, kind of like John Wayne Gacy. And also, I could potentially make a part 5. I don't know. Leave your comments down below on who you would want to see in part 5 because this list was hefty. And yeah, thanks for watching.